It's the Fellowship of the Geek Show, a weekly podcast about comics, the comic book industry, and other geek pop culture. Music courtesy of Manny the Martyr. And now, on with the show!
Hey there, everybody. It's the Fellowship of the Geeks podcast. My name is Thomas Chick, and joining me for this episode is Mike Marlowe.
Hey, gang.
Les Webster.
Hello, all.
And Liz Newman.
Hello, everybody.
How are you guys doing?
Yep.
Downright chipper.
Oker doker.
Hope everybody out there is doing okay. What's been going on in your corner of the galaxy?
Nail it all down, people. Here it comes.
I don't know what to throw out and what to keep to myself.
We've noticed that about. Oh no, nothing. Never mind.
Yeah.
And on that note, good night, everybody. See you next week.
No, I've been busy, but it's just been stuff I didn't want to do. So, yeah, I'm gonna say nothing, but
But you're going to openly admit that you're lying and just kind of
Right.
move on. No, that's cool. You don't want to talk about it? That's fine.
yeah, I don't know what to put out there. I won't bring everything down, but yeah, I watched a couple of movies and just keeping on, best I can.
One foot in front of the other.
Yeah. And some days it's both feet, just kind of a hop.
Some days you're dragging your tied up corpse with your lips, but yeah, it's
right.
still
dragging your ass
trying to
behind it.
trying to keep moving, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just been a weird week, so. Yeah.
No argument there. Oh, I guess that makes it my turn. I'm not used to getting to go so fast. Not complaining, just like I said, it's just not not what I'm used to. Yeah, I say that to be sympathetic too about, but yeah, this past week was kind of rough, and so in order to distract myself, I found a music documentary, which I often do when I need to distract myself. And I found this one on, well, I think it was on Prime. I'm not 100% sure now because the way I have a Fire Stick, and sometimes it doesn't really tell me where things are coming from. But that's okay. It is usually, when it does that, it's usually on Prime and somewhere else, and it's not always clear about where the somewhere else is. But anyway, the name of the documentary that I watched is Can't Stand Losing You, Surviving the Police. This was from 2012, and it is essentially the movie version, or the feature-length documentary version, of Andy Summers' memoir that he had written a few years before that. And it's a really good documentary. It's a really interesting story, and it is told really well. Andy Summers is a much more interesting guy than I realized, and so it's a lot. It's very good. I hesitate to say it's a lot of fun, but it is very good. It is an interesting story. The whole story of, well, he starts this off basically at birth. And all the way up through his career. I didn't realize he had so much of a music career before the police. So I learned quite a bit there. I suspected what the police as a band was like, but didn't really know before now. It was very much as I suspected, and kind of as we were hearing at the time. They were There's a lot of ego in that band. I'll just say that. For better or worse, there was a lot of ego in that band, and I think it was kind of a perfect storm at the time. It's probably better that it didn't last beyond what it did. And there was also, like I said, the documentary itself as a film is really well put together. For example, I do not know how intentional it was. It seemed pretty spontaneous because honestly, they just had kind of a film crew following him around for a while, just sort of filming him doing stuff so they could kind of fill the background of this thing with visuals. And one of the things with him was he's a photographer in addition to being a musician. So he's always kind of wandering around when he goes somewhere on a tour or wherever he is. He's got a camera in his hand. He's wandering around taking pictures. And I do not recall from the thing what city they were in. It was some city in Asia. He's kind of just wandering the streets of this city by himself. Nobody really even notices him, or the film crew, which I thought was a little weird, but I mean, not entirely impossible. And he kind of walking down this kind of back street in the city, and he stops, and he kind of holds up a finger and points, and then he walks, and the camera follows him into what looks like a karaoke bar, just randomly. And there's some guy up there singing Every Breath You Take. And so he just kind of walks into the bar and stands there inside the door and just starts kind of watching, bopping along, listening to the guy. And I guess at some point, because they start getting spliced together at some point. That whole thing was like one shot. The whole him noticing and then them going into the door of the karaoke bar was kind of one shot. And all of this is like a 2.5-minute sequence in this movie. But eventually he starts talking to the people and gets a microphone and starts singing Every Breath You Take with this random guy in this karaoke bar. And it's absolutely hilarious. It was to me anyway. And then after that, he tells them who he is, and there's a big old celebration and lots of pictures being taken and all that stuff. It's a lot of fun. Like I said, and that's just a little bit of this thing. It's even near the end. So it's something that happened not long ago, I guess. But it's a lot of the whole thing is very informative, and it's a lot of fun. I learned a lot from it, so very much recommend.
That's cool. Took me a minute to realize you were talking about the band Police.
Oh yeah.
Excuse me?
How does this teach you how to survive the police?
I don't know. You'll have to ask the Police's guitarist.
I'm sorry, I got nothing after what she just said. No, what I did do is I found copies of 2 number 1s to read. One was Ultra Mega, which is a bizarre story by James Herron and Dave Stewart. And I say it's odd because it goes everywhere. You've got heroes or you've got superpowered people that there are times I'm going, okay, now which one is this? I was lost at times, but it's an interesting concept. The other one was the Boom Studios Berserker. This was interesting. It had a good setup. And if you like some of the books like the Casca series, or just even if you look at comic books, you can go back to Vandal Savage. This is story of an immortal. And in this case, the Berserker is an immortal that fights. And yet he's trying to become immortal. And right at the end, he does a reveal that kind of knocks you back a bit. Both are good reads. I've got a feeling I'm going to try number 2s on both of them to see where they head. And I did not pick up Berserker because of Reeves or Kent. I just wanted to see what the story was. And it was pretty interesting. So I do recommend both.
And of course, Berserker has been picked up by Netflix to do a movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I heard too. So,
which let's face it, that was probably the intent from the get-go.
Oh, sure.
mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just.
Right. It is certainly not surprising.
Yeah. Cool. Glad you enjoy them.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And Immortal, huh?
Yep.
I find myself wondering if Valiant is serious about a Valiant Universe movie series, if they're going to try to sneak Eternal Warrior out first.
We're kind of on the same wavelength there, Mike, as I was thinking about Eternal Warrior would make a great
Wouldn't it,
series of films.
Oh my God.
Or even a series,
Mm-hmm.
a streaming series. It would be awesome.
Oh yeah, to give that thing the Mandalorian treatment and see what happens. That would be a lot of fun.
You know, I have not seen Bloodshot. I would like to. I'm kind of curious. But I'm just wondering if that may have been the wrong character to start the universe with.
I kind of wondered that at the time when they were starting to talk about it. I was like, I kind of wondered something similar to that. I was like, that's, I mean, the one they kind of started their reboot with when they kind of came back in, 2012 or something like that.
Yeah.
They kind of started with Exo Manowar.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can understand why they wouldn't want to start with that necessarily, but I'm not sure Bloodshot's the answer either. I don't know that Eternal Warrior would have been the great one, but
the thing about Exo Manowar, I mean, if they had done something, I'm sure there would have been people out there going, okay, this is
Iron Man.
This is Iron Man. Which is not a bad thing, but you know, it may pull those people in, but if they pay more attention to what would have been coming out with trailers and stuff, and the information about the film, they go, okay, there's something a little bit more than this. But you know,
right, because it's actually not Iron Man. It's very different. It's a similar concept, but it's a very different approach.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I've thought about that too, because I thought about who would they have gone with. I can't see them doing Harbinger. Ninjak maybe. I don't know.
See, the part of the problem is that you could draw parallels to a lot of their characters to existing properties that are out there. Like Ninjak is, again, not exactly, but not that far off of James Bond.
Right.
And yeah, like Exo Manowar would be a lot like Iron Man, although it's a very different story. And then you get Eternal Warrior, and boy, there's a lot of parallels to other folks out there.
You know, Archer and Armstrong or Quantum Woody, then all of a sudden you're kind of thinking
you're into buddy cop movies.
You're doing that, or Guardians, where I mean, there's going to be a lot more humor in the story.
You're setting a precedent that the rest of your properties are not really going to back up.
Right.
You're gonna as soon as you get away from Archer and Armstrong and Quantum and Woody, then it stops being funny a lot of times, and that's not going to work. Once you set that funny bar, it's hard to take it away.
Yeah. Well, you talk about a president, and obviously you can't start off with Shadow Man, because all of a sudden you're starting to think you're talking about something kind of dark.
Right,
You know,
and then the flip side of that is, oh gosh, what's her name?
Faith,
No, Faith actually might be a good place to start with this, but anyway, no, I was thinking.
Livewire.
No, the one who sees her dead husband. I'm just drawing a blank on her name.
Oh, Dr. Mirage.
Yeah, that one. That's because that wouldn't be that far for Shadow Man either.
Right.
But yeah, see, Faith might be a good place to start.
Faith might be a good one. Yeah.
Again, you set an interesting precedent, but at least it's not quite such a huge leap from that. I mean, from there you can go in either direction, I think.
Well, and the other thing is, if you're looking at, you would look at her and go, well, this is not a parallel to Marvel or DC character, because she's obviously not.
Right.
So, oh well, but they didn't ask us. So.
I mean, honestly, I say that. You want to know who the closest thing I can think of is?
Yeah.
Spider-Man. Very different set of powers and all, but you've got that kind of that teenage innocence thing going. I'm talking early Spider-Man here, but I don't know. Just a thought.
And kind of the wide-eyed wonder, because she believes superheroes are supposed to be good. They don't do questionable things and all that kind of thing. That's why she didn't want to join Unity, because they're like, wait, you kill people? No, heroes are not supposed to do that.
Yeah, I'm not into that. Yeah, you shouldn't do that.
Yeah. So.
Yep. Hey, there's a rabbit hole for you.
Anything else there, Les?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Okay. Honestly, I don't really have anything to bring to the table. There's been stuff going on personally, so I haven't had a lot of fun time this past week, but I'm sure they'll be changing here real soon. Well, I mean, what fun I've had was on our Discord. How's that for a segue?
Oh, that was smooth.
Very smooth. Which you're more than welcome to come join us. We've had this Discord's been set up since May of last year, so we're about to finish up our first year. If you don't have the Discord app, it is free. You can also sign up for free. You don't necessarily have to have the app. You can just pull up online on an internet browser. We do have invite on our homepage, www.thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. We post a lot of news items. We post a lot of stuff for discussion or fun things, memes, music. We do monthly activities that are exclusive to the Discord. We'll do meetups, virtual meetups on there. Matter of fact, by the time this drops, we would have our one for March, because we actually pushed it back a week. It's usually our third Saturday of the month, but we didn't do it this month. But you're more than welcome to come join us, and hope you have a good time. All right. It is that time again. It is casting call. We do these once every couple of months, and what we do is I come up with some kind of concept that's comic book related. Either it's existing, continuing something that exists, such as, we did a follow-up to the Tim Burton Batman films, or the Linda Connor Wonder Woman show, or we would come up with something else kind of on our own, like we're doing this time. For this month's casting call, I decided to kind of jump on the late 70s hero bandwagon, primarily Marvel. Back in the late 70s, you always had the very successful Incredible Hulk TV show. You had a lesser successful Spider-Man TV series. you also had 2 Captain America made-for-TV movies, and then Doctor Strange TV movie, which I think was supposed to have been a plot for a series, but I'm not really sure. But that didn't really go anywhere. So with that, I decided to follow up and do a Daredevil series based around the year 1978. That's about the time where all this was going on. And I picked Daredevil because I figured it would be the character that would be the easiest to be able to bring onto TV in terms of practicality and that kind of that kind of things, where other characters you may have to worry about more of a special effects or something like that. It would have been a little bit tougher to bring the reality back then. So with that, we're going to start our casting call, and who would like to go first with their pick? Don't everybody jump at once.
I'll do it.
Okay.
I'll go. I'm gonna be a jerk though. I'm actually gonna work from the bottom up on the list.
Okay.
As we were given the list.
Okay.
I think it'll be more fun to start with the villains.
Sure.
And it'll give us kind of a wind up for the good guys and all that.
That's not a problem.
Okay, so, and my very brief disclaimer, I'm not super familiar with the Daredevil stuff, but I looked some stuff up and I think we're good here. I think this is going to be fun.
Yep.
So the last one on the list, or the first one, the direction we're going, is Mr. Fear. And this is an interesting character, and I noticed that I don't know if it's just because the character's been around a while. There are kind of multiple incarnations of a lot of some of these guys, especially the bad guys. I guess not surprisingly, because you bust one and later on another one shows up, and that's kind of the way things work when you're not dealing with superheroes. I kind of tended towards the originals when I did this. That could be flexible, obviously.
Sure.
But with Mr. Fear, given kind of what he does and the way he worked, I thought an interesting choice to play him would be David Warner. It turns out that he was kind of just starting to hit it big at this time. So he would be a pretty big grab, I think. He wasn't super megastar, but he honestly never was a super megastar. But he's a really solid actor. He really seems to enjoy playing the bad guys, and beyond that, he could do almost anything. He's kind of a favorite of the show here, so
Yeah.
that's where I went.
Cool.
That was my pick as well.
Alrighty then. Apparently, I'm on the right track.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know a lot about Daredevil either. I only know the Netflix series.
You poor devil.
Yeah.
Oh.
And
No pun intended. Or was there a pun intended?
Hey, you're better off than I am. I didn't watch that. I've only ever seen the Ben Affleck movie. So.
You poor devil.
Right. I don't know if that'd be any good. I did see that. But I did read the Electra line when he was with her. But I went for a guy that's known for playing a bad guy. And I didn't notice, but I've picked a lot of MASH guys. So that's going to come out a lot. Looking through his credits now, it's like, damn, I didn't even know he was on this show. But I went with Joe Pantoliano. I can't pronounce his last name, but I know him as Ralph on The Sopranos. But he, like I said, he's always been the bad guy, whether it's in Beethoven or,
Well, and he was the guy who betrayed Neo in The Matrix.
Yep.
So, yeah.
He was the villain in the Tom Cruise movie.
You're gonna have to be a little more specific.
What first Cruise movie where he was the kid?
Risky Business?
Yeah.
Oh wow. That really? Wow.
Yeah.
That either.
Dang. Okay. I haven't seen that in
He was
a
Guido.
lot of years.
See, I thought
Interesting.
Tom Cruise's first movie was like The Last Unicorn or something. Am I wrong?
No. Oh no.
He was in Legend, but that was actually a few years after Risky Business.
Okay. Maybe that's what I was thinking.
Not that we are necessarily Tom Cruise experts around here, but
Yeah. I know him as jumping on a couch, so. And his goose, or
Maverick.
yeah, Maverick. There you go.
Yeah, Top Gun. Also in that same time frame.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and here's something kind of funny. Joe was actually in the Daredevil movie. He played Ben Uric, the reporter.
Oh, wow.
That's cool.
Okay.
I didn't know that either.
Dang.
Oh, yeah. 2003.
Right, and this would have been 25 years before that, so
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
cool.
Okay.
For mine, I'm going to go to the ultimate bad guy in this time frame, who is in almost every movie as a bad guy. John Saxon.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was about to say Randall Cobb.
He was just, what was that? Well, I can't say god awful movie that he was in because
That doesn't narrow it down much again, right?
no, it doesn't. Not at all.
Not on this show.
He was in
But
Enter the Dragon?
no, this was one of those space cop movies. It was horrible.
Oh.
But John Saxon is the one that came to my mind. Yeah, all you need is somebody with a brooding look and let's snarl a couple times and we're good. So that was my choice.
Yeah, he could totally do that.
Yeah.
And do
Well,
it
you were talking about bad guy of the '70s, especially the TV shows and stuff. I was thinking of Richard Lynch,
True.
but you went the other direction, which is cool. That's awesome.
Wasn't Lynch also in Briscoe County Jr.? Wasn't he a bad guy in that?
Let me check here.
That's even we have to Google that one.
No problem. We'll just move on.
When was Briscoe County? I'm trying to remember.
Early 90s, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. He played, if I remember, he played the main bad guy.
Yeah, I'm not. I may be overlooking it, but I'm not seeing him on there.
That's okay.
I could be overlooking it. Let me see.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that his name sounds
Real familiar.
not
Yeah.
not you don't think of anything about his name, but you see his face and you're like, oh yeah, him.
Yeah, him.
He was in a lot of questionable movies too.
What was the name of the character you were saying, Les?
I
John
don't
Saxon?
remember the name.
It was a doctor.
No, he was a cowboy. He was just a villain. I'd probably mistaken, but that's okay.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on then.
Okie dokie. So next in line is the Jester. Again, I am not entirely sure that there aren't some parallels here for something else, but that's all good. generally speaking, that will be the start of a character, and then the character will develop and become something else anyway. So, but yeah, we've got a kind of wild and crazy villain here, and I made maybe a slightly outside the box pick here, because I thought it would be interesting. Yeah, if I picked the same thing you picked again, then I'm just going to hang it up.
I'm outside the box too, but we'll see how outside I am compared to you.
I went with somebody who is mostly known in TV from that time for comedy. I went with Gregory Sierra because he's kind of maybe best known for Barney Miller, in which he was really good in that, and I mean he did some drama along the way too, and so he's the kind of guy that I'd like to see him play crazy just once. I'd like to see him try it. It would be really cool. It would be interesting to see what we got out of it.
Yeah.
The late Gregory Sierra.
Played Fred Sanford's neighbor.
Yeah. We were kind of close there. We were talking about primarily known for comedy at the time. It was a really big show. And then we kind of veered off. I went with John Ritter.
Ooh.
I almost picked him. Yep.
Oh, and see, he did some bad guy stuff later on that.
Yeah.
He would have been really good in something like this.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's pretty cool.
I like it.
See, I also went for funny guy at the time, but
apparently the name Jester just brought that out in all of us. I don't know.
Yeah.
But my pick was Bill Daly.
Okay.
He could play serious and funny, when it called for it. So kind of goofy.
And could direct.
Yeah. And he would have just been finishing I Dream of Jeannie, so he would have been free.
Wow, that ran that late?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
I think 78 was the last year of it.
Bob Newhart. He was finishing with Bob Newhart at that time, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Howard Borden.
I like it.
Nice.
I do too. I went with somebody a little younger because I felt he was a villain in an early TV series when his brother went upstairs to get his basketball and never came down again. I went with Ron Howard.
I almost cast him as Daredevil. I was looking for a redhead.
That would be interesting.
Yep.
To give him a chance to play a bad guy like that.
After his entire career has been
squeaky clean.
The squeaky clean kid next door.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Yep.
It was pretty
interesting.
I like it.
Alrighty.
Okie dokie. Next on our list is Owl.
Ooh.
Yeah, and see, from what I gathered, this character was a little more, not necessarily like superhero bad guy, but just kind of, almost crime bossy in nature, and I could be totally wrong, but that's kind of how I read it. And so here's your MASH reference, Liz. I picked Larry Linville to do this because coming off of Frank Burns, I thought it would be fun to give him a role that is similar but different. Because as Frank Burns, he was the foil without necessarily being the villain.
Mhm.
Let's give him a chance to be the villain and see what happens. I'd be willing to bet that we would get something really interesting.
That's pretty cool.
I like it.
Mhm.
Yeah. I I had seen him in a couple episodes of Mission Impossible when I was binge watching those earlier this year, and obviously he was not being the goofy guy. He was playing it straight, and yeah, I mean, I think he was underrated. I think that's that's one of the problems with when you do a character that's on a very successful TV show. You kind of get viewed as a certain way,
Right.
and he was more than that.
You get
Right.
typecasted.
Yep.
He did, and he was that was a weird position for him to be in the first place. That role, I mean, think about whose shoes he's filling. I mean,
Yeah.
the guy who played that role in the movie was Robert Duvall.
Mhm.
So he's got big shoes to fill there. I mean, so what he did with that role was kind of impressive in that regard. Obviously well enough so that he could get typecast in that role, which is, I mean, there are times when that's fine, but I mean, it kind of sucked for him. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I like him.
I do too. It's a good choice.
Well, for my choice, and here's another MASH reference. That's granted, it's only one episode, but he was on the show. He was also on one episode of the original Star Trek. I went with Logan Ramsey because he has kind of the look. You talking about kind of a mob boss type of mentality. He kind of has that look. In Star Trek, he was the episode Bread and Circuses, the planet where basically Rome continued, and he was leading. He was the head of the government and all that. So
That's cool.
yeah, I like
Okay.
it. I
I
like
do
it.
too. Yeah.
all right, Les.
For me, I wanted somebody with a little bit of swagger. I know originally the owl was a large person. In fact, you look at it, he was essentially the setup for Kingpin. He was the character that was a mob boss and was a little bit round. But I wanted somebody that would be had a bit of swagger, braggadocio, and I went with Robert Culp.
Ah,
Ooh.
Nice.
yeah.
Because in almost everything he's done, he's had a cocky attitude.
Yeah.
And I know it's his characters, but I felt like that would be the fit for the owl.
That would be an interesting way to handle it for sure.
Yeah.
And it would also help to kind of distinguish him from the Kingpin. Since yeah, it does seem like he was a little bit of a prototype of that, but it would be cool to kind of come back at it a little later and kind of give him his own style, as it were. I like it. And
Thank you.
style is one thing Robert Culp had.
For sure.
Yeah.
So yeah.
See, I went a little shorter. I didn't know he was a tall guy. But I had read that he had modified his body and all this other kind of stuff to perfect him flying or had an exoskeleton. So in my mind, he was a little short guy making up for things. And short, bad guy, I went with Danny DeVito. At this time, he would have been like the taxi guy who was still the just wanted to knock his head off,
Yeah,
you know.
just a lot of shouting and
Yeah.
bad attitude. Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting.
I didn't know he was tall though, so
I mean, that's okay.
we'll put him on stilts.
Or
It's not like they
just,
always.
or just let his personality fill the space. He's got plenty of it.
He does.
It's perfectly fine.
It's not like they always are perfect with how the character is in the comic, whether visually or personality wise. So yeah,
Right, and they kind of don't.
There's
need
always
to.
some leeway. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So. And Liz, I apologize. I didn't mean to skip over you, so I apologize for that.
It's all good. Yep.
Okay. All right. Next.
Okay, so next we start moving over towards the good guy side. And so the next pick is for Foggy Nelson, who was Murdoch's law partner and bestest pal. And so I figured we should go with somebody. Now, okay, full disclosure. I think I ended up with generally a bit of a young cast for the good guy side. But I don't really think that's a problem. I think starting them a bit young is not a big deal. I mean, honestly, most of these people can pull off a 30-ish lawyer anyway. But so that said, my choice for Foggy Nelson was Joseph Bottoms.
Okay.
Who we will all remember from his role in the Black Hole.
You mean the Blob?
You'll never live it down here.
There.
I snuck it in there.
You'll never live it down.
I like it.
Yeah.
I do too.
But yeah, I think he has kind of that, again, that innocence, or at least he can pull it off. He can act it one way or the other. But I think he can bring that sort of innocent, young lawyer, great attitude, and the whole before he got beat down by the system sort of thing. That's my sense of the character anyway.
Right. Okay, well, for my pick, I went with someone, I kind of went younger as well. I may or may not have gone as young as you, right around there. I was looking at someone who has done a lot of kind of supporting roles. The actor I went with, who was on the TV series Family at the time, and would later be on Crazy Like the Fox. I went with John Rubinstein.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay, Liz?
For my guy, I was trying to stay. I was trying to stay in the 30s also because I was thinking, they'd had to have completed law school and that kind of thing.
Right.
And the person who popped out at me was Larry Wilcox.
Aha.
Yeah.
From Chips.
Mm-hmm.
10-4.
He may have been busy with Chips, but this would have been a better role.
A little more depth, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, he just wouldn't have been a pretty face.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. I went with, well, he's done some stuff. Robbie Benson.
Yeah, he's done a few things, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I know that Foggy was shown to be an overweight gentleman, but here I'm just thinking he just has to act like an idiot.
Right, a little bumbling, a little awkward.
Right.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
And that's why he couldn't get Karen's attention. So that's where I went.
Oh, that's fine.
I like it.
I
That's
like
cool.
that.
He
Me
did.
too.
He did enough of that and stuff adjacent to it in his time in that time frame. So yeah, totally. Cool.
Alrighty. Next.
Well, speaking of Karen,
Yeah.
let's talk about Karen next. Karen Page was the see, this is where we get a little dodgy in today's terms. Believe she was basically the secretary, at least a lot of the time. I think maybe later on she got to be more of a character in that regard, but she was also love interest. She was the one that Foggy pined after, and who was really into Matt, if I remember correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong
Yeah.
on any of this stuff.
No,
but-
you're right.
You're right. Yep.
You're right.
So I went with someone who had an interestingly parallel role on another show at the time. I'm picking Gretchen Corbett. And if that name is not familiar, she was the lawyer / love interest on the Rockford Files
Okay.
against
Okay.
Jim Gardner.
Yeah.
So I think this was right about the time. I want to say the Rockford Files was just wrapping up about this time, or at least it was close to it. So she could just easily slide right on into this role.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay. I like it. For my choice, I went with someone who's had a long career in TV. Most people in the listening audience probably know her as oh God, what was the name again? Catherine Hauser. She was also on Miami Vice. I'm going with Belinda Montgomery.
Hmm.
She was also on Man from Atlantis, which no one here is going to remember except for Les.
Wow. I do, but wow.
Well, I mean, it wasn't.
It
It wasn't
doesn't
that
count
long.
if you
It
back
was
the
about
bus up
that.
over yourself.
It was about that time frame. So yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, it starred Patrick Duffy, and then
Mhm.
when it was canceled, he moved over to Dallas. So I mean, it was the same time frame. So.
I almost cast him in something too.
I think we cast him enough last time we did this.
So Liz.
Well, I didn't know much about Karen. What I saw, she was a cute blonde. So I was thinking cute blonde, 1978, and I went with Lindsay Wagner
Okay.
All right.
for total superficial reasons.
I like that too.
Yeah.
She was cute as a bionic woman.
Mm-hmm.
For this one, I went to the movies, and I picked Judy Geeson. She was in To Sir with Love.
Okay.
She had a major role in that, and I was looking for a cute blonde woman, and she fits the bill.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Next.
Oh gosh, let's see what's next. Next up would be Ben Uric. He is the nosy reporter, which is always a fun role to cast. So I picked somebody who I always want to think did a lot of TV, but I don't think he really did. And I go back and I'm like, no, I think he was mostly in the movies. But I picked him for this anyway because he's just that kind of guy. He's just one of those guys that you can put in any role, really. He's just that good. And also in this time frame, I think he fits the look pretty well. I picked Tommy Lee Jones. Not gonna lie.
Nice.
I think it's kind of a homer pick, but I did it anyway.
No, I mean that's great. I didn't even think about him, but yeah, that would work real well.
Yeah, you've got to have somebody with a little drive to get what he wants. So yeah, that's a good one.
I can see that. Yeah.
Well, I think you can say that about my pick. I think he was an underrated actor. I love him to death in anything he's in whenever I see him. And I went with Michael Parks.
Ooh. Cool. Yep, he's good.
Yep, I like that too.
Yeah.
Alrighty, Liz?
Well, when I thought of this character, I thought annoying little press guy, little squirrely dude. So annoying and squirrely, I had to go with Ron Palillo, who, of course, was Horseshack on Welcome Back, Carter.
Ah. Huh.
That would have been an interesting change of pace for him.
It would have been a fun way to spin a little comic relief into this.
Yeah.
I think. I could see it. I could see it working. I could see it not working, too, but I could see it working.
Well,
yeah.
I could see it doing comical, but, maybe a little bit, obviously not over the top like he was on Welcome Back, Carter.
Oh, right.
Right.
Yeah, you definitely tone it down, and I think that would have opened some eyes.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been fun to give that guy a role like that he can kind of stretch in both directions.
Yeah. See which way you wanted to go with it.
Yeah, do a little bit of the funny and take it really dark and serious at times. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is not a show that you're going to go super funny with, no matter what you do. But you want somebody in there to give a line to lighten things up for a minute. Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, I like that.
Yep.
Very interesting choice. All right, Les.
Ooh, Mr. Carter.
Ooh.
For this one, I'm going the way that Mike did. Somebody that is kind of headstrong, wants their information right up front. And I went with Robert Fuller.
Okay.
Who has always been a person that exudes the temperament of don't take anybody for granted.
He finally left Rampart, huh? I'd like that. Yeah, I like
I
that.
totally see that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was underrated I think he's still with us, but I think he's underrated as an actor as well. So. All right, and the man of the hour, I guess.
This may be a little more than an hour at this point, but that's okay. We're used to doing that. But yeah, so we need to cast Daredevil in this sucker. We need to cast Matt Murdock. And this one, I actually wasn't sure with this one for a while. He was one of the last ones I picked, which is, I guess, part of why I wanted to do this backwards. But
okay.
And this is another one that he kind of started out in movies and moved kind of into TV. He's one of those guys that has always kind of done the transition well. I mean, I don't know that he's been in any major blockbuster movies, but he's been in enough movies that people know him in the movies, and he's been in some pretty serious hardcore TV roles. But at this point, he was still fairly early in his career. I went with Mark Harmon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Me too.
I think he's got. I mean, he was a quarterback for UCLA, for crying out loud. I think he could pull off anything athletic you want him to do. And I think at this point we all know the dude can act well enough to grab a white cane and bang his way through a
Pretend to
courtroom.
be blind.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And also pull off the character that is Daredevil. So yeah, that's where I went.
Well, because in this time period, he was pretty buff. I mean, not like weightlifter buff or nothing, but yeah.
Not he's no Stallone, but like I said, he played college football
Yeah.
successfully. I mean, yeah, he was
See, and I never saw Daredevil as a real buff kind of guy. He relied on his other senses and,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a good choice.
He's not a bodybuilder, but he's in good shape.
Yeah, I like that choice. I like it so much that was my choice as well.
Oh, you're kidding me.
I'm not kidding you. I had Mark
Wow.
Harmon.
Wow.
I heard him writing with the pen then, so okay, we'll go with that.
I heard him scratch it out too.
Yeah.
He did.
No, actually, Mark Harmon was like the first one I picked of this list.
Oh wow.
Because, he had done bit parts. He was actually supposed to be in a couple of spin-offs from Emergency. That's a callback from the last pick. But so yeah, and yeah, he was athletic. I think it would have worked.
Me too. That's a good choice,
Yep.
guys. All right, for my guy, another MASH reference. But I think, looking at his record, his acting career, I don't see a year ever that he ever took off. So I went with Gregory Harrison, who of course was Trapper on MASH. I've seen him do some serious things, and I've also seen him kind of be, he can do a comic relief. But in his other things outside of MASH, he's been pretty serious and, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I like him.
Yeah, he was Logan on the Logan's Run TV series, if I'm not mistaken.
He was.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, there you go.
Yep. To where now he's on General Hospital.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's Gregory Chase.
Well,
It's an interesting thing to retire into, I guess.
Right.
well, you talk about that. Oh God, and we talked about Barney Miller earlier. Wojciechowicz. I can't remember his name right now. It's Max Scale.
Max Scale.
Max Scale.
He'd been on General Hospital until they just killed off his character within the last year or so. But he had been on there for a while.
Yeah.
Oh. So, kind of funny how all this is kind of tying together.
It is.
It's a small world.
It is. Yeah.
After all.
Yowie.
Bring it on home, Les.
Okay.
You picked Tim Conway. I know you did.
Oh.
Close.
Harvey Korman.
I went with a funny man on this one, too. I picked JMV for this one because he is such a riotous cut-up.
Jan Michael Vincent?
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't you think that he's funny? If you don't, I'll send him to see you.
Okay, he's what, 90 now? Go for it.
No, I think he's dead.
Oh,
Yeah, I
okay.
don't think he's no longer with us.
It's even better. I can take him. It's about my speed.
I just felt like he could answer the role, being trim,
Yeah.
so I think he could pull it off.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he passed away back in February of 2019. But yeah,
Ah,
I can. The Jan Michael Vincent at that time period, yeah.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Did anybody do anything else? Anybody decide to do any other characters, or just because some of us tend to do that from time to time, and that's not complaining. I'm just.
I did throw one in just because I thought it was interesting. As I was kind of reading up, I noticed that he had kind of teamed up with Black Widow for a little while, although that was a little bit later
Mm-hmm.
than this kind of beginning time frame. So I went ahead just for jollies and picked a Black Widow just in case.
Sure.
And I picked Carol Lindley
Ooh.
because I thought it would be an interesting time in her career, and I thought she would be able to handle the kind of sweeping in and doing the Black Widow thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even if it was just on a short-term basis, I thought it would be interesting.
I did cast Black Widow as well.
And you picked Carol Lindley, didn't you?
I picked Kirstie Alley.
Oh,
Ooh.
wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I mean, we're talking pre-Star Trek 2, so yeah, she was an unknown then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but she proved later on Cheers that she could certainly throw down, at least in an argumentative sense.
Yep. Anybody else? Decided to do
Nothing.
Black Widow?
No, not me.
I didn't.
It's okay. I hope everybody out there enjoyed this casting call, and we would love to hear your thoughts. And if you had any kind of suggestions, definitely send them our way, either in our Discord or through our social media, and we'll go through all of that here later on in the show. Any final thoughts before we take a quick break?
No, it's fun though. I always like doing these. I always like having to look back a little bit in time. Not necessarily super far. That gets tricky. But
Yeah.
back
Well, it
to
gets tricky too.
70 chick. Yeah. Well, and talking is hard apparently. But only done this every week for 5 years. You'd think I'd be better at it by now. But anyway. Yeah, we should do this again sometime.
Yeah, let's do this in a couple of months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And on that note, you talk about talking. On that note, we will be right back with our weekly picks. And we're back. It's time for our weekly picks, and leading off this week is Liz.
Right. For my first pick, it's from Image Comics, and it's called Shadecraft. This will follow a girl named Zadie Lou, who's afraid of her own shadow. She swears they're trying to kill her and that they're watching her. Very relatable. But, she's finding out now that it has something to do with her family. Of course, all dark things come from your family, right?
Wow.
It'll be interesting to see if she's right, or if this is just a mental thing, or if she's really in a lot of trouble.
Bum, bum, bum.
Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah.
Good choice.
I'd say
Could
this
you
one
imagine
sounds
if
good.
shadows were trying to kill you, though? I mean, I'd be walking around with like a floodlight taped to my head or something.
There's a mental picture.
Well, I know when I was younger, shadows will always try to make me trip, so,
Yeah. They do. They're tricky.
That's more of a picture of a mental, but okay.
Ouch.
Yeah,
But yeah, this one sounds like fun.
Yep.
it does.
Alrighty, Mikey.
Okie dokie. So my first pick is from Source Point Press, and this is a trade for a book called Hollow. This is not to put too fine a point on it. This is what I think is an interesting retelling of the Sleepy Hollow story. This is told more from the point of view of Katrina Van Tassel, who is the witch of Sleepy Hollow. And so this paints Ichabod Crane as a sinister new schoolmaster. And I think this is going to be a very interesting, I want to say supernatural take, but I mean, not that the story's not supernatural already, but I think this is going to be a fun way of kind of looking at it from a different angle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was on my radar. I agree. You know, Ichabod is more the threat, instead of the unique protagonist that he's always been. So yeah, I definitely like the spin that's been put on this one. Yeah, This was definitely on my radar. Alrighty, I am next, and from my first choice, I'm going with Horror Comics number 4 from Antarctic Press. And this is the first of a two-parter story called Tears of the Cherubims. And the story is this is after the apocalypse, and angels and demons are walking the earth. And it's a story of a guy named Santiago who's ready to end his life because he lost his best friend. But he comes across an angel, and that's when everything kind of changes. So, and since this is called Horror Comics, it's probably not going to be for the better.
Probably not a happy story, but that's okay.
It's probably not a happy story, but I definitely dug the concept. So I'm kind of interested in seeing where this goes.
Yep, sounds pretty cool.
Yeah,
Yes.
it does.
Alrighty, Les.
To follow in the ideas of Source Point Press, my first pick is Spaced Out. Spaced Out is a comic book, and this is a satire book. In this one, they bring up characters like Enemy Ass, a funny animal ace of World War I, Prison Nerd, a takeoff of this famous cult TV show of the 60s, and Sergeant Croc, a satirical take on Guess Who. I'm ready for this just to laugh, and I've got a feeling this is going to be well worth the time.
Nice.
Yep.
Spaced Out. Sounds appropriate.
Yep, it does.
Alrighty, Liz.
All right, for my second pick, this is a one-shot from Boom, and it's the Power Rangers Unlimited, Heir to Darkness. This will give us the backstory to Astronemia, who was a villain turned ranger kind of thing, I guess kind of like Tommy used to be. Before she was Astronemia, which I don't even know if I'm saying her name right, she was Corone, and she was kidnapped by some bounty hunters, and she was brainwashed to become like this badass assassin. So this will kind of give us the behind the scenes of what Dark Spectre and Ecliptor wanted to do with her, and if that will come back later and bite the Power Rangers in the ass, so to speak. So, I know when Tommy came over, he had a backsliding experience before he was like fully good. So maybe this is her backslide. Should be pretty good, one shot, and they said it will connect with the stories that's going on. So this will be part of the continuity.
Continuity.
There you go, that word.
You got it in the end. Cool.
So, quick
Yep.
and easy read.
There you go. Nice.
Mhm.
Alrighty, Mikey.
Okie dokie. So my second pick is another one from Source Point Press. They're getting a lot of love this week. This is Cult of Dracula, #1. This is, I mean, again, we've got a retelling of a well-known story. I mean, this is a filmmaker named Mina who's taking a documentary film crew to investigate what is a crime known as the Cult of Dracula mass suicides. And so we've got some interesting takes, I think, on the age-old story. It's I mean, as much as brand new stories are great, sometimes you just have to go back to older stuff and see what new things you can do with that. And this looks like a really cool example of something like that, and I'm looking forward to it.
Does sound good.
Yeah.
For my second choice, I'm going with a new book from Vault Comics titled Witch Blood. And they're calling it a modern Wild West road trip with a witch named Yana. I believe that's how you pronounce it, Yonna. And apparently she's being hunted by a band of bloodthirsty biker vampires.
Oh, that old story. Okay.
Yes.
No, that's cool.
Sucks to be her. Huh?
Oh,
Right?
There we go.
Wow.
There we go.
They say this is perfect for fans of Buffy and American Gods.
Neat.
So, yeah, this kind of looks interesting, so I definitely want to check that out. Alrighty, Les.
My second choice comes from Image. This is a series I've been telling you folks about. This is crossover #5. And in this one, you get a lot of answers to your questions. This has been a good book because not only do they cross over with the characters, the comic book characters into real life, but they give names to a lot of the people in, say, the comic industry showing up, and it's been such a fun read to read this and go, oh yeah, I know who that is. I know who they're talking about. So this is part 5. I've got a feeling that the collection is going to be done soon, but find it now. Find it now so you can enjoy it in each chapter. And like me, I'm really loving this story. This was a novel idea.
Awesome.
Cool.
All right, any special shout-outs this week or mentions?
Don't think so.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to our regular shout-outs. I want to shout out Pop Culture Culture Podcast Network for allowing us to be part of a great group of fellow podcasters. Highly recommend you check them out. There will be a link in the show notes. We also want you to check out the fine men and women who make up Podern Family on Twitter, who've been so gracious enough to spread the word of the fellowship. Definitely check out some of their shows. The best way to do that is to go to Twitter and do a search, #Podern Family as one word, and just scroll through, and whatever catches your eye, click on that link and please download that episode, and hopefully you have a great time listening to them. Thank you guys always for your support. Want to thank Manny the Martyr for supplying the music to our podcast. There will be a link in our show notes. You can check out their fine music. Thank you, guys. And finally, you, dear listener, thank you for downloading and listening to today's episode. We appreciate your support and value your feedback. You have a comment, question, suggestion, complaint, observation, what have you. Have some interesting casting choices of your own, please send them this way. There are several ways you can do that. Your email is email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net, or you can go to the website and go to the About Us page, and there's a contact form you can fill out there. As I mentioned earlier in the show, there's an invite to our Discord. On the main page, there's also with our social media icons. And you can contact us through there. There's also a channel on our Discord specifically designed for feedback. Highly recommend that you would use that platform if you like. Now, I mentioned we're on social media. We're on Facebook, The Fellowship of the Geeks. Obviously, we're on Twitter, @Fellowship Geeks. Feel free to follow us. If you like to follow our individual Twitter accounts, Mike can be found @MikeyGeek. Liz can be found @LN_geek. Les may or may not be found @FakeLebsWebster. And I can be found @TomTCGeek. And from wherever you download our episodes, if you would please take a couple moments to rate and review the show, it would be greatly appreciated. Anything else before we say goodbye?
Just thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for listening.
Appreciate support, everybody. Thank you for listening. And until next time, geek on, my friends.
We thank you for listening to the show. Comments, suggestions, and questions can be sent to email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You can follow us on Facebook @The Fellowship of the Geeks and on Twitter @Fellowship Geeks. Until next time,